It's showtime.
It's the pre-party with J. Cal.
We are professional wrestling.
I'm building an alliance.
You are tuned into
the absolute top of the mountain, the ultimate professional wrestling.
Alliance-wrestling.com.
Well, I should have been a little bit more prepared than that. This is the pre-party. The pre-party. A presentation of Alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. We've already got a full house, and I'm so just blown away by your guys' support. I'm blown away by your guys' continued support and always being here ready to get going. So let's get going, right? This is a big week for the NWA. We're in the second round of the Champion Series. 5 matches. Wowie, wow. 5 matches. I don't think the NWA has ever presented 5 matches on an episode of an NWA Power, which I think is great. We're getting wrestling, folks. We're getting some wrestling. And I couldn't be more excited. In case you didn't know, my name is JCal, and every Tuesday we present the pre-party. And that's where we talk NWA. We talk with you, that hashtag NWA fam. This is a community for the fans, by the fans, and we're here to get you excited. We're here to get you pumped up for the National Wrestling Alliance POWERRR. We do it every Tuesday here on YouTube and on Twitch.tv. And if you're here, thank you for joining us. Let me say what's up to Jimmy LB, Terry McDermott, Sean Mega. Heebs is in the house. Dave Scooby is here. Jonathan Burrell's here. And it's starting to feel like this forbidden door no longer exists. Like that door is a thing of the past. It's fading away into obscurity. I mean, we've got Impact wrestlers showing up on AEW. We got AEW wrestlers showing up on Impact. We've got Impact wrestlers showing up on New Japan of America shows. Oh, my boy Lamb. Lamb is streaming us live on Twitch. Thanks for hosting, Lamb. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you. We've got Impact wrestlers showing up on New Japan of America. New Japan of America wrestlers showing up on Impact. New Japan wrestlers like Jay Switchblade, Jay White is showing up on Impact. So of course, it would only be right that Impact wrestlers and AEW wrestlers are now going to commingle with the NWA. And of course, that doesn't happen until NWA EMPOWERRR, August 28th on pay-per-view Fight TV. If you can't be in St. Louis, I know there's only like a handful of tickets left. And there's no matches even announced yet. I mean, there's no matches for the 73rd. And really, outside of we knowing for a fact that Camille will defend the Burke and that they're going to crown tag team champions, and they're going to crown a women's invitational cup. I mean, this is going to be a stacked night of wrestling for the NWA. The 28th, and it just feels like that forbidden door. Like I said, it just doesn't exist anymore. I mean, we know that I'm terrible with names. Jamie Senegal. Sorry if I'm saying it wrong. She'll be there with Pollo de Mar, the Glamazon. And I think they're using this as an opportunity to, of course, the showcasing the equality and acceptance with the NWA. I think is really cool. But we've got them. We know that they were announced on the Grown Ass Woman podcast. That's Mickey James' podcast with SoCal Val, and so they've been announced. They will be there in St. Louis. We know that the Blue Dragon will be there. We know that she was announced as part of the show. And I'm sorry, I'm just looking something up real quick. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump out of view. But we know she's going to be part of the show. So there's a lot of names that are just popping up all over the place. So I think it's pretty cool. Sorry, I'm a little distracted because it didn't work the way I wanted it to. Apologies. But things are starting to come together. And then Lamb corrected me. Senegal. Thank you, Lamb. So we've got some talent. We know that the NWA talent already associated with the brand have been invited. So like Kenzie Page announced on Twitter that she's been invited. It sounds like Mickey James has invited Lady Frost, which two great moves, two very good choices. And then we know from the poster art, I mean, unless, of course, card is always subject to change, we know that we're going to have Genocide on the card. We know Kylie Ray will be involved. And, of course, Camille is supposed to be defending the Burke there. Speaking of Camille, she's now 2-0 in title defenses. Had that big defense in Charlotte against Kenzie Page. And then also the defense at RCW against Amber Nova, I think. So she's 2-0. She's heading into the 73rd, riding high on a wave of victories, and it's kind of interesting to see who's going to stop her. And then also we know that Layla Hirsch and the Bunny will be battling on AEW tomorrow night for an opportunity to wrestle the world's women's champion. That's not easy to say. So it seems again like AEW talent has been invited to start competing again for the NWA Women's World Championship, and we've seen this time and time again when Thunder Rosa first made her appearance with AEW, and she brought the Burke with her, and then Serena Deeb obviously had multiple title defenses in AEW as Women's World Champion, so that's pretty cool. Hey, Michael Manning's in the house. What's up, Michael? Glad you could be here. So bringing all that, then we've got Deonna Purrazo, who's accepted the invitation from Mickie James to be at the Empowered pay-per-view. And so, I mean, when you go with that and you go with all this innuendo that's out there of all these other people who could potentially be there, I mean, Medusa Maselli said she would be there. She'd be bringing Bull Nakano. I mean, who knows if that's going to happen, but it's pretty crazy. And, you know, I see some of your guys' comments, I'm reading along, and it just feels like they're doing everything right with this women's pay-per-view. I mean, they haven't even announced a match yet, but there's a lot of energy connected to this. Both shows, to be honest, both the 73rd and this one, there just seems to be a lot of positivity surrounding it. And I think this is great. I think it's good for the women. It's good for the NWA. And hopefully it's a great night at the Chase. So I want to get to your comments here, because that's what we do here. We talk to you, the NWA fam. And it's always a blast to talk to you guys here on Tuesday. Thursday I have to share the microphone with DKM and occasionally Kevin Frazier. And we like to talk to you guys, but I feel like we don't get our one-on-one relationship stuff going on here. So here I am presenting myself to you, and you are presenting yourself to me, and this is a cool little dichotomy we have here on Tuesday nights on the pre-party. Speaking of Tuesday nights and sharing myself, I will also be on a podcast later tonight. It's the Love Wrestling CA. Now, they've had our good friend Tim from NWA Gold talk about the NWA on their podcast like twice now. And so they asked me, last week I was out of town, as you guys know. So I'll be doing a second podcast later tonight, 7 p.m. My time, 10 p.m. Eastern. If you guys want to come hang out and talk more NWA, I'm sure I'll have a lot to say about the post show of POWERRR, and yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. So Heeb says we ain't getting matches till Power Surge before the Power Surge before the pay-per-view, and you know that, I mean, that very well could be true. That very well could be true, because why do they? There's no sense of urgency. You guys, you sold out the dang arena without even them giving us a match. So why do they need to show you anything? No spoilers, no trailer, nothing. You know, you just go to the movie theater and enjoy. They also they've used that same kind of formula in the past for the last pay-per-view too, when Our Shadows Fall. I mean, we knew that we kind of assumed we were going to get Trevor Murdoch and Nick Aldis, and you could probably assume we'll be getting that matchup again for the 73rd, but there's been no confirmed card yet, except we know that whoever is the Women's World Champion on that night will be defending the title against the winner of the Women's Invitational on the 73rd, or excuse me, on the Empowered pay-per-view. So we do know a little bit, but we don't have a whole lot of facts, guys. We're going with innuendo and rumors, and that always plays out like exactly the way you want it to. Jonathan Burrell says, got Flair and Arn versus Hollywood Blondes on the TV. And the pre-party on my phone, you know what? Flair and Arn versus the Hollywood Blondes, and I think you're talking about Pillman and Austin. Not a bad watch, man. Not a bad watch at all. Pillman and Austin had such like great chemistry together, and it was a shame when that group, Turner didn't give them enough time. I think had they had given more time, we might be talking about them the same way we talk about like the Midnight Express or like the Steiner Brothers as some pretty dominant tag teams. But nevertheless, that's a good 1-2 punch. Dave Scooby wants to remind you all, if you like this, make sure you like, share, and I'll even say leave a comment. Leave a comment below. Heebs says, do we know if it's 2 tournaments? Heebs, that's the thing. They haven't even specified that, so we don't know how they're going to crown the tag team champions. We don't know how they're going to crown the winner of the Invitational. Assuming most Invitationals are tournaments, but they could always make it a battle royal for either the tag teams or it's just very confusing, and it's unfortunate too, because I want to get more excited about this. I really feel like EMPOWERRR is going to be a great show. And I'm telling you right now, I feel like the 73rd is going to be a really great show. But I wish they'd give us more to get excited about. And, of course, these shows, the way that POWERRR is shot, that these matches are filmed so far in advance, that, by the time the pay-per-view comes around, it's kind of hard to build that all up together. It's almost like I wish they would do 2 sets of tapings in between pay-per-views, because it would give them an opportunity to have matches that are focused on building these storylines, as opposed to matches that were filmed a couple of weeks ago, and try to make it all make sense. Like I said, Michael Manning's in the house. I do enjoy that. Jonathan Burrell says, the War Kings versus FTR for the final, please. That would be pretty cool at a Crockett Cup. I don't think we're going to see that. I don't think we're going to see that matchup at the 73rd. I don't know that how much talent is going to be made available. We know that this relationship with the NWA and AEW seems to be centered on the women's division. Again, AEW has used the NWA Women's Championship from time to time. Serena Deeb had several defenses for them. But so far, we haven't seen any kind of connection between the men's division and then the NWA. But that could change. That could change like that. So who knows? My good friend Rick Del Santo's in the house. What is going on, Rick? The PWZ podcast. You guys should check them out. They do a lot of good work. If you're watching wrestling on the East Coast, especially the Northeast Coast, definitely check out the PWZ podcast. I know Rick does talk about the NWA, but he does talk about some of the local promotions in this area. Heeb says he wants to see Genocide as the tag champion, maybe with the Champ Series, and insert herself into a tag team title match. Have a wrestle in on the pre-show for EMPOWERRR to get challengers. I think, look. I think Genocide makes a lot of sense. Putting the women's tag team title on her. It's just who would be her partner. I think Taryn Terrell would make a good partner for her, but I don't know if she's still really wrestling. It's hard to tell, because she's been used in such a limited in-ring capacity for the NWA that I don't know if she can actually go and have a good match. Now, with that being said, you put her with Genocide and she doesn't have to do a whole lot. You just let Genocide kind of do all the work. Now, whether or not that's what they're going to do, who knows? But with as many competent women that are out there, there's still so much available talent. And that's the thing, we talk in the past, we've talked about Marty Bell, we've talked about Allison Kay, but there's a whole slew of women talent that are out there. Heather Monroe, Ruby Reyes, as I'm stuttering over here, Miranda Gordy, Christine Janes. There's a lot of talent out there, and that's I'm not even scratching the top of the surface. I'm sure you guys could list much more female talent who would all be appropriate for this pay-per-view. We'll just have to see how it goes. We'll just have to see where it gets to. Michael Manning says, for them to have 2 pay-per-views in 2 days, they must have some tricks up their sleeves. Michael, I think what it is that this is a very historic venue, that they know that by running this event, regardless of the card, they're going to have a good turnout. Just like when they ran at Charlotte with the Crockett Cup in 2019, or the initial Power tapings in Atlanta, Georgia, or the first Billy Corgan's anniversary show, the 70th. They did that in Nashville. They're picking towns that are very much connected to the history of the NWA. The Chase is a venue that literally housed hundreds of NWA World Title matches. Harley Race and Flair, Dusty Rhodes and Flair. And a lot of matches took place there at the Chase. And then fast forward, not fast forward, but if you go back to the days of Nashville, I don't know how many times that Nashville Fairgrounds was the home of many NWA matches and NWA affiliated promotions. And then, of course, Atlanta and Charlotte. I mean, Charlotte's horseman country first and foremost, and Atlanta was like where Championship Wrestling from, Georgia Championship Wrestling kind of took off, and I mean they were just stones away from where WCW used to tape. So just a lot of historical significance for NWA fans. As we previously talked about on the Alliance Guys podcast, maybe next will be Houston, with the connection to the Paul Bosch library and all the history that's associated with Houston. Not exactly sure. That's just a speculation. Personally, we've said this again, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself a lot, but it'd be so cool if they could do a regular series at the Chase, like maybe once a month. And maybe it's televised, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just they record matches and distribute those on YouTube. But I think this wrestling at the Chase, I think, is a pretty cool deal. And again, they don't need to list matches if they're going to be at the Chase, right? So I don't think there's any tricks. I think they just know that that's going to do well for them. Lamb says the eyes are more focused on EMPOWERRR right now. They have to have something special for the 73rd. I'm sure they're working on it. I'll be honest, I'm not extremely excited about a Trevor Murdoch, Nick Aldis third match. I think that the event in Charlotte kind of took some wins out of the sails for that matchup. I mean, Aldis defeated Murdoch clearly in the ring. Like, no interference, didn't cheat. He beat him. One-on-one, he beat him. And I don't know how to get excited about that match. I mean, before that match, Murdoch had a very good point that Aldis was afraid to face him because Aldis couldn't beat him, and that's why he cheated. But now that all goes out the window because Aldis straight up beat him. So, I don't know. To me, I'm not super excited about that match, but the NWA certainly found a way to book things that I would think normally, in my point of view, would not be very good and somehow make it into something interesting. And they did it with Murdoch at the last pay-per-view. They built him up. When the NWA came back, they really kind of broke him down and built him up as a challenge for Nick Aldis. And I kept saying, why are you making him look so bad? Why are you making him look so bad? But then they built him up. And when he had that match with Aldis, I was excited for it. I kind of wish they'd have pulled the trigger then and put the belt on Murdoch then. But, I don't write these. I don't write the stories. I just watch them. Jonathan Burrell says, are there any mid-card matches you want to see at 73rd and EMPOWERRR? I mean, I think I could speak more to the 73rd than I can EMPOWERRR because I don't really know who is available for EMPOWERRR. But for the 73rd, I mean, you got to figure out what's going on with the TV title with Pope and Tyrus. I know that I don't know if that storyline gets concluded here during the championship series. I don't know if POWERRR has that match or if these guys end up facing up at the pay-per-view. But there's something's got to happen between those two that the storyline needs to finish up so that they can go their separate ways. And I don't know if that's Tyrus winning the championship, or if the Pope finally cashing in number 7 and getting his opportunity at Nick Aldis, or the 10 pounds of gold, I should say. So, not really sure what matchup could be there, but that's something I want to see because I want resolution. Secondly, you got these tag teams like Hawkari and Rebellion and The End and the War Kings, and I really would like to see a dominant tag team come out of the 73rd going forward to push Stevens and Kratos for those tag titles. They've done enough introduction. We know who these teams are. Let's get into some storyline building with the tag teams and get those titles at least being defended on a more regular basis. Lamb says, in the infamous words of Crimson, don't you trust us by now? I mean, look, I'm not going to lie. I had a lot of fun with When Shadows Fall. It was a good pay-per-view. But no, I don't buy pay-per-views until I see a card, and I still practice that. I know, look, the Fight's trying to sweeten the deal by you buy 2, and you save some money. You buy early, you get credits, but it's so far I don't want to make that investment until I see a card, and I'm gonna buy the shows. Between you and me, don't tell the NWA. I'm gonna buy these shows, but to me, it's the principle. I want a card before I buy it. Sean Mega says La Rebellion should get the belts. I really like La Rebellion. I think they're a fun tag team. I don't know how far you're going to push them because when AAA is back on all cylinders, do you still have access to them? And I mean, maybe some people think that it doesn't matter, but I like having the champs being able to defend on the show. Michael Manning says the Mystery Man might just be the greatest to ever tie up a pair of boots. I mean, that's saying a hell of a lot, Mike. More than I'm willing to commit to. Sean Mega says Steve Corino should team with his son to take on the Hawks. I mean, what kind of shape is Corino going to be in? I love Steve Corino. I wish the NWA would have done more with him before he got into retirement. I think there was a lot of speculation at one point he and Pierce were going to be a tag team in Ring of Honor that just kind of fizzled out. But that would have been so much money. Seeing those two guys just go around the territories as a tag team would have been perfect. Sean Mega says, what about Virginia? Oh, please, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of historical significant places for the NWA to go. I mean, the whole Mid-Atlantic, right? Virginia, New Jersey, all those cities or states, there's significance for the National Wrestling Alliance in that Mid-Atlantic area, and of course they should take advantage of it. I mean, that's just good business. Remember, this is a business. They're for profit. They're not here to, Billy says very frequently that they're the stewards of the legacy of the National Wrestling Alliance, but make no mistake about it, it is a business. And he's here to make money. Yes, he wants to celebrate the history and the tradition of the largest sanctioning body, the oldest sanctioning body in the world of professional sports. However, he needs to make a dime. And more than a dime. He needs to make lots of dimes. So he's going to do whatever it takes to be successful. And if that means taking the show to St. Louis, that's a good idea. Taking the show to Virginia. Are people in Virginia ready for the NWA? Are people in Houston ready for the NWA? Because that's how they're going to get it, is by being ready. So, yeah, I'm not against it. Yeah, let's bring it on. Michael Manning says it's sad that the fairgrounds closed down. I've only seen NWA 70. Yeah, I was really excited to be there live, Michael. That was a great venue. I think that's just an amazing concept of having like a wrestling venue at like the state fair. I have one locally where we have a racetrack. And I'm thinking, man, why don't they just put a wrestling venue right next door? And it's housed so many NWA matches, just pro wrestling matches in general. But all those Impact matches, all the stuff from the 70s and 80s and early 90s. I mean, that venue had been very significant for pro wrestling and for the NWA. Sean Mega says, I think this is Murdoch's last match. That's quite possible. I mean, that's a stipulation, right? If he doesn't beat Aldis, he's going to not just step away from the NWA, but retire from pro wrestling, period. And, I mean, I think it's very dangerous when you book yourself into corners, because then you're stuck with bad booking. And if you don't like the way things are turning out, too bad, you're stuck with it. So, it's always just one of those things. Oh, hey, Webb's Weekly Wrestling Rant just subscribed. Thanks for the subscription, guys. Appreciate that. You guys could subscribe too. I'm assuming most of you are, because you guys know when we go live. But if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so by clicking that subscribe button on your screen. I would appreciate that. Jonathan Burrell says, how about wrestling from the chase replaces Power Surge? Every 4 months is a kind of a Clash of the Champions deal. Now, see, John, now you're talking my language, brother. Oh, I think I like that a lot. Power Surge could be easily moved to YouTube. Still do the same dang show you're doing now. Gives reasons for YouTube viewers to maybe potentially subscribe to what's going on in Power, because it kind of keeps them just enough in the loop. Just gives them that taste, right? Just a little bit of taste of Power. And then having such a big show happen at the Chase every month, and folks on Fight get to watch it as part of their subscription package, I think you're onto something. So, Michael, I'll tell you what my idea was, because I don't think you were here for it, but my idea was they run Power exactly the way it is now, but then run the Chase. Excuse me, it was Jonathan. But my idea was that you would do the Chase, but make that a regional TV show. when you film those matches, some of those matches would make it to YouTube. Some of them would just stay in a vault and you'll never see. And it would be building up the NWA in the St. Louis area, working with the Chase, working with that the hotel. I think that'd be pretty cool. Just my own thoughts. Michael Manning brings up the World Championship Wrestling in Florida. I mean, yeah, that absolutely. Florida too. I mean, Florida is pretty good with wrestling, right? I mean, they just spent the whole COVID with the Daly's place and the Performance Center, so they had all kinds of wrestling from the big two. And then besides that, I mean, Ring of Honor has always made Florida part of their stomping grounds. Then you've got so many independent promotions working out there. And before that, Impact used to call Florida home at the Orlando studios. So, I mean, I'm not saying that they're starving for wrestling. I'm not saying that they wouldn't churn out for the NWA. I'm just saying that they're not as hungry as, say, St. Louis or perhaps Houston, a town that doesn't have a big wrestling promotion. You know, they're wrestling promoters in St. Louis. There's wrestling happening in St. Louis. It's just not to the level of what the NWA is bringing. And I think it'd be kind of cool to take advantage of that that desire from the fan base to see more wrestling. Michael Manning says Trevor Murdoch is the man. I mean, I thought he was for a while until he lost cleanly to the world's heavyweight champion, and then it makes me less interested in seeing him wrestle. Lou Thez is in the house. What's up, Lou Thez? Michael Manning says, I want to see Pope versus Aldis for the ages. My brother, I got you. Pope versus Aldis. That is the dream match. I'm going to give that t-shirt away soon, but I haven't done it yet. But yeah, that would be a match I would love to see. I don't think there's anyone close to Nick Aldis on this roster currently than the Pope. And I'm not saying Pope is ready, but I'm saying Pope is closest. If you're going to take the title off of Aldis and put it on another NWA wrestler, my choice is Elijah Burke. He's the closest one there. And I think he can carry the same swagger that Nick Aldis had. I think he's got the same look. And I don't mean like looks the same. I mean he has that distinct look. His promos are there. His in-ring is pretty solid. And let's face it, he made the TV title very relevant in a time where it could have easily just been the national title part 2. So, that's all. Terry says, I like Trevor, but Aldis needs another opponent at the Chase. I don't see, they're painting themselves in the corner by putting that stipulation out there. I'm going to quit if I don't get a title match. If I don't win the title, I'm going to quit. It's just, it's hard to get excited about that. Now, maybe the NWA just ignores that promo. Maybe they never bring it up. We don't know if that's technically considered canon for this TV show, but, I mean, it's out there. It's out there. So I don't know. If they didn't want him to say that, if they didn't want him to do that, they should have never done it. Michael says, I should trust Billy and pay up. Look, man, I am a consumer. I consume things. And my money, that's how I do my speaking. Like, I will buy the pay-per-view when I get a card. That is the contractual obligation I have for all wrestling promotions. Pro Wrestling Guerrilla just sold out the Globe Theater in Los Angeles at Mystery Vortex number 7 with not one match announced. But you know who they brought in? Tommy End, Brody King, Super Dragon. I mean, if that's what you're gonna do, if you're gonna surprise me with talent like that, then sure, you'll gain some credibility. But the talent that they've been showing me lately is Chris Adonis, El Rudo, Bestia, and Mecha Wolf. Sorry, I'm just not that excited about that. Lamb says, the championship series aside, was the tag division even on focus on Power after the pay-per-view? Not really. No. There hasn't been a whole lot of talk of the tag titles in a while. Sean Mega says, Billy and Marquez should put aside their egos and work together again. And it's not that serious. Look, I can only speak from what I've heard and what I know. Some things that are spoken can't be taken back. We all make conscious decisions every day how we're going to interact with people, what relationships we're going to have with people. And although this isn't a Dr. Phil special, I do feel like that at this point in time, I don't feel like Dave Marquez or William Patrick Corgan have any desire to do any business with each other. Now, my partner D Cam will tell you, well, that's fine. They don't need each other. I think that some cool stuff could have happened had they worked together. But the fact of the matter is, it's just not going to happen. It's not. So I don't want to sit here and cry about things that aren't going to happen. I want to get excited about things that can happen. And there's a lot of cool things that can still happen. Sean Mega says, Pope versus Aldis at the OVW Davis Arena would be cool. I mean, I'm not against that either, right? I'm not against the NWA having matches that spill over into Ohio Valley. But remember, the focus should be the NWA. Title matches should be happening on NWA programming. If it's going to feature an NWA wrestler versus an NWA wrestler, then it should probably be on NWA programming. Now, I do think that the world champion should be traveling to multiple promotions. But he should be maybe facing, Mr. Pectacular. Aldis should be facing Mr. Pectacular, Jesse. Oh, I can't think of his last name. If that's a match that you want, if you want to see the title in Ohio Valley, then Aldis should be defending his title against the top of whatever the Ohio Valley has to offer. Let's see. More of your comments. Lamb says, imagine Pope showing up in the NWA World title on Ohio Valley in a match versus Jesse Goddard. Oh, that's his name, Goddard. There you go. Yeah, and that would be cool to me if Pope was champion, and you take the very top of the NWA versus the very top of Ohio Valley, and I think you've got something very compelling, very interesting. I think that's a lot of fun. I think that's a good way to go. But I don't want to just see you pull out, an NWA match. Like, I don't want to see Trevor Murdoch and Chris Adonis in Ohio Valley. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. Might as well just book that in the NWA. Jonathan Burrell says, I was thinking about Bray Wyatt. I think he needs to wait before joining AEW. If the Punk and Danielson rumors are true, would it be worth Billy bringing him in for a year, cost dependent? I think anyone who lands Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda, yeah, I think that's, of course. But, the thing you have to keep in mind about Billy Corgan is not only is he a perfectionist, but he's a bit of he wants to be in control. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, he paid for this. This is his. So why wouldn't he be in control? But with that being said, a talent like Bray Wyatt, who's so creative, might not want to be hindered by Billy's, creativity. And they might clash. They might butt heads. We don't really know. I can't speak for Billy Corgan because, I've talked to him maybe 10 times. And I certainly am not going to sit here and tell you I know the man inside and out, because that's just not true. But I do know he's a creative person, and sometimes creativity will bash heads. Now, maybe it's a match made in heaven too, right? But at the end of the day, too, you have to look at opportunity cost for all of these guys. If I'm Bray Wyatt, maybe it makes more sense for me to go to Impact than the NWA, because on Impact has a bigger spectrum right now. They're on more TV channels that are seen by more people, and more people than the NWA. So maybe it's better for him to head that direction. But I agree. I think, especially with AEW signing all these folks, I think it would be a smart move to stagger them, because I think if you give us everything at once, it tends to ruin things. Like, I remember when Benoit and Guerrero and Saturn and Guerrero all showed up on Raw, and it was cool, but then, remember the reaction Chris Jericho got when he showed up by himself. And imagine the reaction Chris Benoit could have gotten if he just showed up by himself, and without being in a faction, without being handcuffed to a group. And I think you risk the excitement by, if you don't stagger these things, if you just put everything out there all at once, there's always that weird connection. I don't know. I would prefer them to enter separately. Not that I'm a huge AEW fan. Dave Scooby says, if he wins by DQ, he doesn't step away. Aldis moves on. Trevor goes after Chris Adonis. See, I just don't see them doing that, though. because it's like all or nothing with Trevor Murdoch. He said it, like, if I don't win the title, I'm going to retire. He didn't say if he lost by DQ. He said, if I don't win the title, I'm going to retire. And that, I mean, you're giving him an out, but I don't think that they want to do that. And I think really that would be kind of insulting to the fans too. Like, if I'm sitting there watching it and you screw over Murdoch again, why would I order the next one? It's like the last two results. I don't need to see it for a third time. And then Lamb just said the same thing. Michael Manning, I hope that Billy and Marquez work together again. Loved Marquez on Power too. Yeah, I mean, look, it was fun. Dave knows that old school shtick better than anybody. I mean, he was brought into the business with Harley Race and Gordon Soley. So, you know, him being a part of this NWA Power was very fitting, especially as someone like him who was a steward of the NWA brand for so long. I mean, how many world title matches did Dave Marquez promote? Between Scrap Iron Adam Pearce, he was one of the few guys that booked Christian Cage as world champion, booked Jeff Jarrett as world champion, and of course Adam Pearce, Brent Albright, Blue Demon Jr., Colt Cabana. I mean, he booked all those guys, and I'll tell you this, 100%. I'll tell you this, that he would have booked Jax Dane had Bruce Tharpe allowed Jax Dane to work for him. Fact of the matter is, he wasn't. And so we go from there. Michael Manning, you like Chris Adonis. See, I'm kind of bored with him, but that's another story. Lamb says, what shirt are you wearing? I am wearing the NWA POWERRR shirt. Normally, I do wear my own merch on the podcast, but I just felt like representing the NWA today. I was really happy with the last episode of Power. We haven't even gotten much into Power yet. We'll get there soon because the show's almost over. But Dave Scooby says, if Adonis or Latimer interfere, or even Rosser, Trevor has quite a few people he can work with after the pay-per-view. Yes, you're not wrong, but just the way that, again, it's all going back to, was Charlotte canon or was Charlotte just a one-off? Is it part of the chronological story of the National Wrestling Alliance, or was that just an event? And if it's canon, if it's part of the storyline, then they painted themselves in this corner that you can't really get around. You just can't. Like, he either wins a title or he doesn't. He's done if he doesn't. They need I wish they would have done something different. You know, even if in Charlotte, you know, if that was the match that they were intending to go for, they should have given us some sort of screw job ending. Camille interfere. Hell, Kenzie Page interfere. I don't know. Someone should have thrown, you know, something at someone to get a disqualification, because the clean victory just kind of spoils the match. Michael Manning says, annoyed to see Harry Smith is with the WWE now, hoping he would face Aldis. I agree. I was really hoping that he would have been one of those guys, but you know, it's one of those things where, like, you know, money talks. The WWE, AEW could probably pay more than just about anyone else, and depending on what kind of deal you get, like, you know, with the WWE, there's like a downside guarantee that you're guaranteed to make this much money. Even if you're sitting at home not being used, you're going to make this much money. I don't know if the NWA can compete with that. Just, you know, financially, you can't compete with what billionaires are able to offer. So it sucks, but it is what it is. Jonathan Burrell says, are they working on the assumption that people haven't seen the match? I know Aldis was boasting about the win on the post show. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It wasn't intended to be a live event for the NWA. The NWA office went live during the match, and it made it on the NWA Instagram account. But outside of that, like, I haven't heard anything about Trevor Murdoch's stipulation post match, offering up the dealer, giving him something of value. So we'll see. Heeb says, I think tonight's episode will have a couple of dusty finishes. We have Tyrus, Boogie, War Kings, and the tag champs all across the ring from each other tonight. Yeah. I mean, look, let's get into Power, right? So for tonight on Power, we'll go to Bracket A first. Bracket A, we have Aaron Stevens and Camille and Austin Idol. We've got Kenzie Page taking on Lady Frost and Kratos and Tyrus. Now, Kratos and Tyrus is a rematch from the pay-per-view Back for the Attack, right? And I think when you see that matchup, I think it's going to be very interesting if you're going to get the same Kratos and Tyrus match as that you got from the pay-per-view. I don't think they possibly could run the same exact match out there, but I don't see Tyrus going down. See, Tyrus is in a situation where he is your top contender for the television title. So a loss to Kratos could hurt him. It could impact that. Where if Kratos loses, it's not a big deal. He's still tag team champion. He's not a singles competitor. He's a tag team wrestler. And then also going back to the Lady Frost versus Kenzie Page. I mean, Lady Frost, I think, is such a great talent, and wow, I think she could be a superstar. She has a great look. She's awesome in the ring. She's very athletic, and I think if they roll with her for a while, some big things can happen. Kenzie Page, I'm not superly impressed with Kenzie Page just yet. I know she's still kind of fresh. I know she's new, but I think she has opportunity to grow. And of course, the NWA does need to start establishing some of its own names and giving people an opportunity to go from nothing to something. So I think with Kenzie Page and Lady Frost, I don't know who's going to win. I lean towards Lady Frost, but it really could be either one of them. And I think with Tyrus and Kratos, I just feel like Tyrus has got to win. He's just got to win. You can't build up a guy like that and then have him go down. It doesn't make sense to me. And then next up, I'm really excited about this match, and probably more than I should be. But the Mystery Man versus Crimson. Mystery Man versus Crimson. Now, Crimson is an incredible athlete. He's a credible talent. I mean, his history with the NWA prior to him starting work for Impact, hell, before Billy Corgan purchased the NWA, he's had some opportunities in the past. He's been a part of like the Ohio State Fair shows. I mean, he's been a name for the NWA, whether it be Tommy Mercer or Crimson or whatever. But as the War Kings, they've been a very dominant tag team. But as a singles competitor, he hasn't done a whole lot. And really, even as a tag team as of late, the War Kings just haven't done a whole lot. But the Mystery Man seems to get a lot of good publicity. I mean, he's been featured on This Is Pro Wrestling's post show for the NWA. He's kind of hacked in. I think the guy is talented. The gimmick is a little bit goofy, but I'm very interested to see where they go with this, because a win for Crimson, great. Crimson has a good reputation. It puts him back in line for maybe a shot at the national title, maybe a shot at the TV title down the road. A win for the Mystery Man, same thing. Like, there's a lot of implications for whoever wins this match to going forward. And the Mystery Man is a guy who's basically said that his goal is to hold gold. So I could see some good things happening there for the Mystery Man. I think he might go over tonight. Again, Crimson, as much as I like Crimson, he doesn't need a victory to be over. And of course, him and the War Kings, that's a whole different animal. Oops, wrong one. Wrong transition. Sorry. And then the next match, Slice Boogie Jax Dane. Now again, this is a rematch of some matches we've already seen. And I'll be honest, I don't know what the deal is with Slice Boogie. I think he's a talented young kid, but I don't see why they're putting this thorn in the side of the War Kings. I think when the War Kings should really be out there winning the tag team titles, challenging Kratos and Stevens for the tag team titles, being the dominant Legion of Doom-esque, the Road Warrior-esque style of tag team. I mean, for Christ's sake, Animal was their manager up until his passing. And I just see this team with so much garbage drama being built up. I feel like it's disrespectful for the War Kings. Jax Dane is a former World Heavyweight Champion, is a former Tag Team Champion, is a former National Champion, North American Champion, and I'm sure if you look far enough, he's held a couple of those NWA Texas titles as well. This dude is a monster, and he should be carrying the brand, not supporting the little guy. So, I mean, who's going to win? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know which one advances the storyline better. We just saw Boogie make his debut for MLW, and now we know, thanks to David Marquez, that Slice Boogie will still be allowed to work for United Wrestling Network, along with Danny Limelight. I haven't heard anyone from the NWA specifically say that Slice Boogie will still be working with them going forward. So this match could mean a lot, or it could mean absolutely nothing. At the end of the day, I really feel like we're gonna see Jack Stane man up and show Slice Boogie who he is, and make a big deal about it, and show that he is the the former world's heavyweight champion. Whew. Now getting back to your comments. Michael Manning was talking about the companies could pay more, but it means little without proper title. Yeah, I mean, look, it's all like where you're at in life, right? What's most important to you? If you've got a young family and you're just looking for a payday, then of course you take the money. But if you're more worried about legacy, right? Like you want to build that brand, maybe the best move is to go to the little guy, go to the NWA, build up your reputation, make yourself undeniable. I mean, that's what Cody did, right? That's what the NWA is doing right now, is making itself undeniable. Terry McDermott says clean sweep for Pope and Sky is his guess. I mean, it's kind of hard to argue that, right? And then Jonathan Burrell says Aldis Molina team is getting a big fat 0. Ooh, I mean, it could happen, right? And then don't forget, we got that 5-man or the 4-man match too with the alternates: Jordan Clearwater, Colby Carino. I don't mean to be disrespectful, Sal Renaro, and I don't know who, did I say Clearwater? Anyways, Dave Scooby says Lady Frost has a look, can go in the ring, and actual character. Hope she has some more success. Absolutely, Lady Frost is great. Like, if we didn't already have Camille, I mean, Lady Frost and Genocide, I think, are the two best talents that the NWA have discovered in the women's division. I mean, Kylie Ray was already well known before she got to the NWA, and Melina, Taryn Terrell, all these ladies have already been well known. Of course, Thunder Rosa really kicked down the damn door, but since then, when I see somebody like Lady Frost, I'm like, wow, she's a superstar. When I see Genocide, I think, wow, she's going places. So we'll see what the future holds for Lady Frost. Like I said, she's supposed to be a part of EMPOWERRR. So maybe she will be part of that tag team tournament, or maybe not. It's still kind of up in the air. No matches listed yet. And as I asked you guys earlier in the earlier in the podcast, who did we think that they were going to start releasing matches for the 73, the card? 54% of you said yes. 46% of you said no. That's pretty telling, isn't it? We're about halfway. There's about 15 people watching this show right now, and we're kind of split on if we think they're going to even release a card or some of the matches tonight. Oh no, the camera just died. Give me just a second, guys. The camera just died. Oh, the battery is my bane, my existence. But with that being said, I mean, look, you know what? One thing I don't have any doubts about tonight, one thing I don't have any problems or any doubts about the show tonight, is that I think it's going to be great. I think NWA Power with this Champion Series has taken a lot of the problems with creativity, a lot of problems with the booking, and kind of pushed those to the side. We have created this little microverse within the NWA, and we know what we're going to get. We're going to get some wrestling. We're going to get one wrestler versus another wrestler, and there's a storyline and perfectly compelling reason to do so. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm excited that we're going to get some good wrestling tonight, and I think that's something you guys should all be excited about. My man Dave Scooby reminded me that Plunkett is the fourth man. Absolutely. Terry McDermott says that he agrees with Jonathan Burrell, which means that he thinks he'll have 0 as well. Michael Manning says Crimson is the best, but how can he beat the Mystery Man? I mean, that's the other thing. He's mysterious. We have no idea how he can be beaten. But we do know this, that, hey, the NWA has really taken a step in the right direction. For countless weeks, you would hear on the Alliance Guys podcast of us kind of ripping the show up. You know, yeah, it wasn't all bad, but it certainly wasn't all good. Last week, if you guys listened to the podcast, you can still listen to it on Spotify or just watch the video here on YouTube or on twitch.tv at the Alliance blog. Hey, we had a lot more positive things to say about it. And I really feel like tonight, it's going to be more of the same. You're going to see the NWA put on some matches that are never before seen, and some matches that we have seen before, but an opportunity to redo them. So I really think this is going to be fun. I really think that the show is going to be interesting. And again, 5 matches, that probably means one of the matches ends pretty abruptly, but nevertheless, I think this is good. And, however this whole Champion Series plays its way out, hopefully it's creating new storyline going forward that will play into the NWA 73rd. And hopefully we'll get some title or some match announcements tonight on the telecast. But you guys, that's going to do it, man, because it's like 3 to the hour, and I'd like to get you guys going so that you can get over to fight and start watching. So we'll wrap it up here. If you enjoyed this show and want to support it financially, monetarily, you can buy this hat, or you could buy some pretty cool Alliance themed t-shirts. We do have our merch store on the website. Just go to alliance-wrestling.com/merch. You could pick that up right there. We're going to have some new t-shirts coming soon. I've got a few people making some designs as we speak. So I hope you're all excited about that, checking those out. Of course, you can follow us on all social medias at the Alliance blog. Now that's Tumblr. Yeah, we're back on Tumblr again. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Tumblr, and even YouTube, and as you're watching right now on YouTube or on twitch.tv. I'll be back later tonight, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern for my folks on the East Coast. If you guys want to check it out, just stay tuned to my social medias. I'll be plugging it away on Facebook and on Twitter. I'll make sure that there's links that you can find us. And I'm going to be talking NWA with the I Love Wrestling group out of Canada. Yes, Canadians love the NWA too. So that's going to do it, guys. Again, thank you for your support. Thank you for your interest. We'll be here again later tonight, or you can check us out on Thursday, the Alliance Guys podcast, same place, 7 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and that's going to do it, guys. So again, thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your support. And most of all, thank you for being a part of this community, part of this family. Again, thanks to everyone being here. Michael Manning, Terry McDermott, Jimmy LB, Dave Scooby, Sean Mega. Who did I miss? I know I missed somebody. Lamb, of course, Lamb. Can't ever forget about Lamb. Jonathan Burrell. Thank you guys all for being here. Luthez. Who am I missing? Anyone? I think I got everyone. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. And we'll see you at the matches. Now let's go watch NWA POWERRR. And Heebs. I didn't want to forget about Heebs. Thanks for joining us, Heebs.